Okay, we'll call this to order at 9:30. About. And I think maybe just some introductions, starting with John England from the RCMP is here.
I'm Ed Wong.
Lauren Thurston.
Dean's here.
Aaron, and then his report.
And our other counselor is Bob Huff, and he's 4 guys in Maui. And it's 6:30 there, Bob?
6:30 in the morning, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so any additions to the agenda?
I have 2.
I don't have any.
Okay,
They'll have to go in camera session.
okay.
All right.
And there's another item or no?
No, just the 2.
Okay, and there's the, if the Hall Society comes on, we'd like to put them at 9/7 if they are.
Hey,
available.
Dean, I need you to have a microphone there, Dean, to hear you.
You need the microphone.
Do you want to use
No,
mine?
go ahead.
It's such a short.
It's, if the Hall Society comes into the meeting, there's a discussion about the contract with the county. So there's, they have a process they have to go through to become registered, and we have to assign the contract as a municipality for them. So we'll have that discussion, so I'm gonna put that as 9.7, but if they don't come, we have to have another meeting with them anyway, so.
Okay, so I'd just like to shuffle things around here a little bit and move to the delegation.
Are we moving the agenda as presented then?
Yep.
Okay. Are you?
Sure.
Okay.
So we have Staff Sergeant John England here to give us an update on the goings-ons.
Yep, obviously, I've been assigned to Stettler Detachment from Red Deer Detachment to fill in for Staff Sergeant Holiday. He was on a period of leave and unfortunately passed away on January 24th, which is going to extend my stay from Red Deer, obviously. They don't want to leave it vacant. The process to staff the position full-time is going to be happening right away. Be for lateral interest first for staff sergeants that might want to become a Stettler. If that doesn't find a candidate, then it'll go promotion for a sergeant somewhere. Unfortunately, my family isn't mobile right now, so I ultimately likely won't be taking Stettler as a full-time job, but I'll be filling in the meantime. Other than that, our detachment is currently fully staffed with 8 constables, 1 school resource officer, 2 acting corporals, and myself. We're going to be losing one of our members at the end of March, or sorry, end of February. He's going to be gone February 27th. He's going to be packing and loading and moving to Massachusett. That being said, it takes us down to a regular strength detachment where we're supposed to be. And I also have 2 reserve constables in the area that I can pull in as I need to as well. We are currently just hired a 3rd public servant or a municipal employee to fill in for our clerk duties. So she'll be coming on strength here within the next couple of months once her security clearance is obtained. And other than that, Stettler's running well. Our stats are looking pretty good. I have some sheets for you guys. I gave these to Roshan Sands.
I gave them to their packages as
there's
well, so
packages
it'll be posted online.
Yeah,
perfect.
You can keep those if you want.
Yep.
But yeah.
So-
I'll put them in the package.
These forms are provincial stats, so the area around outside of the town of Stettler. The stats themselves look good. Property-related offenses have gone down. Most offenses overall have gone down with the exception of assault criminal harassment and uttering threats, which are person-on-person crime. And they're tough to predict and tough to really, I shouldn't say manage, but they come in as they come in, depending on the people, really. Other than that, the stats for White Sands themselves for the year 2022, there was only 13 calls for service to the RCMP in 2022. 3 of those were property-related offenses, which was disturb the peace, 1 theft under $5,000, and 1 fraud. The rest of the calls for service were 2 persons crimes, which was an assault and harassing communications, and the rest were well-being checks and 911 hangups. So 13 calls over the span of an entire year is pretty good. Can't remember Roshan Sands stats. I think they were up to 30 plus.
Yeah.
Similar occurrences, just higher numbers. Other than that, that's what I got for stats, and I'm also open to hearing what the local concerns are as I move forward with the annual policing plan, which I need to get in place for April 1st.
I have a question. With your staff, being moved around a little bit, will it deter your services to White Sands at all? Like in the future?
So with losing potentially 1 member, taking us 1 under strength, I was just mentioning to Lauren before the meeting, is one of the reserve constables has recently resigned from Three Hills Detachment and is living in Stetler's area. I'm bringing her in to fulfill that vacancy in the meantime. So we're going to be running full staff.
I have an issue with our speed limit along the main road out here, right? It is posted at 30 kilometers an hour. What's your thoughts on that? How do you enforce 30? Would it be easier for you guys to enforce something that's moved up to 50 kilometers an hour and make sure that it is enforced? I'm gonna walk to one of your peace officers, I'm not gonna name any names. He told me last year that it's very difficult to maintain. Nobody here present. If we were able to boost our speed limit to 50 kilometers an hour, would you be able to enforce that a little easier?
It really should make a difference. The trick here, driving to this road twice now, is there's lots of curves and very little straightaways. That's going to limit the ability for our radars to pick up a vehicle further away, which then brings us back to likely having to use a laser, which is a quicker, instantaneous reading. Really, the speed limit shouldn't make a difference what we can enforce or not.
I know the boat launch road, what we call a 40-4 here, it goes from the truck fill station down to the boat launch.
And that's the one.
On top of it.
Yeah,
It's just straight.
it's straight through. But the problem with it is that there's a lot of pedestrians on that road, and it's a main through road through the village. So I think we're kind of looking for maybe some enforcement on there at times, but we are also looking at maybe down the road putting a path in the ditch so we keep folks off the road. Because honestly, you get, that there could be a family spread out over half the road and kids riding bikes and whatever. But then there's also people that come whistling through there at 50 clicks,
And we do have
60.
It's more than 50 clicks. They should
Yeah.
be doing 80 and 90. And we've got a way to enforce that.
So similar concerns as what was brought up to me at Roshan Sands as well, with speeding, particularly a stop sign over on the Roshan Sands side. So I think the easiest and the things I can plan for is to prepare planned operations to enforce the speeding. Maybe something with the RCMP and traffic services and the peace officers at one time, and hit the area fairly regularly. I can plan for that.
Yeah, it's that's the main worry I think we have in the village is the boat launch road.
Can you hear Lauren, Bob?
Yes, I can, yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Anything else?
I don't have any other questions.
No break and enters reported in 2022, so that's good.
Well, I think we got rid of some of them little shits. Yeah, it was all coming from the same place, a lot of it. So.
Yeah, typically, I've been in Red Deer for 15 years and we know generally based on the MO, who's responsible. And it's just putting them in jail so you don't do it anymore. That's the trick.
No, it's been good. Okay, if that's
All I have for you, unless you guys have more questions.
any more questions?
No, not this time, but we'll have to sit down with you and talk about what our long range plans, because we had previously discussed, or you had previously discussed. The fireworks and getting more enforcement on that, and then also, there was been several requests from people in the community to enforce the golf carts and ATVs on the roadways. For the underage people, because they're not 14, right, so they're, or even 16, so. That was the two issues that you guys had previously suggested we put forward in the community. The crime watch, basically the road crime watch thing went away, right? So we're not doing that anymore, but we still have a group in the community that does, active community, neighbor watch, if you will. Other than that, it's up to you guys, what you guys would like to see.
Well, I think we're on the right track, because like you mentioned, we don't got much crime out here.
Oh, it's pretty good here.
Okay.
And generally the county of Stettler itself is below the provincial average for the crime severity index, so that's been news as well.
Okay, well, thanks for coming out.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent.
That was quick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So no public hearing and minutes. There's 2 sets of minutes. One was the regular meeting and then the next one was the,
Just the hall board notes.
Yeah.
Discussion with the hall board.
with the council and the hall board. I just had their, Aaron on the council reports.
Okay,
Uh,
in the main minutes,
on 8.1.
okay,
It was put down that I said I would be in person at the Hall Society's regular meeting, but not the rec meetings.
oh,
So you just take that out of there. And then the pathway at Front Street. It wasn't so much the pathway, there's about 1,000 foot of shoreline that is getting eroded over there.
okay.
And then down at, set up a new code for lock between Jack's Pond and other locks. I didn't know. I think that might have been the code for the water.
For water?
Yeah, that was the water.
Yeah,
So
so,
it was for Jack's Pond because they were gonna pick up. water
Right.
To do the flooding.
so it's just the pin codes for the water, the truck fill station, yeah. And I think we had talked to Tamara about that, and she suggests we change them both, so
Okay.
I'll get that done and then I'll give it to you so we'll know. And also I'll get the Megan at the county to print out the usages and when they've been used.
Yeah, we get quarterly bills, quarterly.
Yeah.
Too.
So I'll just get the past year or so. Okay, that's all I have. Do you have anything, Ed?
No, I don't have anything.
Bob, do you have anything on the minute? Oop,
No, I
you-
don't.
Okay, thank you. So could I have a motion for the minutes, please?
Yep.
As well as the notes, I guess it goes in the same.
Want them to say?
Same motion again.
Yeah, we don't approve the.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on down to number 6, the referral from that Dean did for, it was a request for remuneration for the council and.
Okay, yeah.
So what I did is at first I emailed and called the summer villagers and the responses were really slow. So I just went online and pulled their financials and just looked through the
Dean,
financials.
Dean, can you put the microphone right in front of you, please, right below you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what I did is I sent email invitations and made phone calls to the summer villages around the area, and the responses were really slow. So I just went online to the municipal affairs website and pulled their last financials that they posted. And from that financials, I just grabbed the council pay and the mayor pay and the average pay for each community. And I just plunked it on a spreadsheet with whether the community had benefits. Some of the communities don't pay themselves at all, and some have variable council pay, but the size of the community also varies, and I didn't put populations in or anything, but so what I did from that is I compiled the summary report for council on one page, both sides, and it came out to an average council wage of $2,536 per year, and an average mayor wage of $2,726 per year. And so that was the average for all summer villages. There are some summer villages on the high end that pay like $7,000 per councillor, and others that pay $10,000 for the mayor. But that's the extreme, and there's other councils that don't pay anything, or they don't want a wage at all. They're just doing it as volunteers. So that's all of the data. So if you guys, that was for your discussion, and I also included the details for council for each community, for council's information. So if you guys still have to set your remuneration, or you can leave it where it is right now, it's up to you in our for 2023. So
Dean, the question I had on this, it said for White Sands, it says $3,658 for the councillors and $5,050 for the mayor.
Yeah.
That must include expenses, because
no, generally, well, it includes all of the other meetings. So it includes our meetings plus the other meetings, and then there's no differentiation from the mileage expenses and stuff on the agreements or contracts. So I did everyone the same. So whatever's on the financial statements, that's what I posted.
okay.
So in this case, it does include their expenses, because that's what was posted on the financial statements. But we don't have benefits or anything like that, or life
No.
insurance thing.
So right now
actually-
we're at about, is it
Yeah.
$1,800 plus so much per meeting? Is that what we're at right now?
No, it's $3,000, I think, flat for the year. Is that what
No,
yours is? What is it?
17.
17 plus you guys get so much per outside meeting.
Yeah,
if you-
1750, and that includes all regular council meetings.
Okay.
Right.
And if there's anything, if you go to, let's say, the landfill authority and have a meeting there, it's $75 plus mileage if you gotta go into town, and we use the Revenue Canada mileage rate.
Right.
And any other meeting that, committee meetings, and there's, anymore, there's a lot of meetings, that's for sure. Not like it used to be. But I don't know, and also you gotta realize that some of these, that Dean brought up, these villages, summer villages, some have a population of less than 30, and other ones have population of 300, so it all depends on you know, how much,
And some have populations year round as
Yeah.
well, like bigger populations year
yeah,
round,
so that's the difference between them all. Is there any other comments from?
Well, I'd like to see those, so.
Ed, can you put the mic in front of you, Ed?
Sorry.
See, I'd like to see those figures change, Bob, you know, as I mentioned, when we first started this issue. I'm not so much concerned on counselors' remuneration. I'm more concerned on our mayor.
Well, I agree.
Well,
I think
don't-
Lauren spends an inordinate amount of time, dealing with phone calls and dealing with stuff.
That's right. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
the mayorship on standards does do a lot more work than what the ordinary counselor does, as far as I'm concerned. And we've seen that. And I would certainly like to see that one go up to $5,000 a year.
No,
Well, Bob and I agree.
I don't, I'm comfortable wherever I'm at, and it's fine. Honestly, I mean, if you wanna change it, do it after I'm done, and this is my last term.
No, it ain't.
You know, as a counselor, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. Like you know, for me, I'm not worried about it.
The only reason I would be worried, Bob, about the counselors, remun is for future counselors that might want to take part in what we're doing. And this might be a little bit more of an enhancement if we can get the right people involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess,
I'm with you. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to see changes for the counselors, but in my own mind, the mayorship should certainly be boosted.
yeah, so right now, is the mayor the same amount as us, the 1,700?
Yes. Yes.
the base
Lauren,
pay.
would you be comfortable if we went like, gave you about 2,500 as your base, and then from there, like not go to 5,000? Because I really do feel like you deserve more than we do.
Well, I disagree, but I don't know, maybe Ed has a point there with someone else. I just, you know, it's just, I don't. It doesn't bother me at all what I'm doing for the village, because I do it for the village because I want to. And it's nothing to do with finances. It's certainly.
Move the mic right in front of you guys when you're speaking, right?
It's nothing to do with the financial part of being the mayor as far as I'm concerned, but it is certainly something to do that I just want to do it for the village, and that's. But whatever you want, like I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I guess I tend to agree with Ed that Lauren should get somewhat more than we get. So I think a fair thing is that the mayor gets 50% more than the councilors get. So I would my thought is that we leave the councilors at the same amount and the mayor go up. Like stay at the 1,750 and the mayor go up to 2,500. It would be my recommendation.
Can I make that motion?
Yeah, I'm okay with you making that motion.
And so I've moved by Councilor Watt to keep the current remuneration for 2023 for the councillors, but would increase the mayor base from $1,750 to $2,500 per year.
Correct.
I would agree with that.
Okay,
All in favor? I know he's not gonna say it, so I might as well.
I'm
I'll
opposed.
go in favor.
I'm in favor.
Okay, let's move on to something different. Okay, the other, The 6.2 was on,
Yeah. So 6.2 was the, council had discussions about the compensation for the Buffalo Lake Ranch Estates subdivision phase 2 on people, investigating the possibility of giving them a tax rebate because we don't do any services on it until the subdivision portion is handed over to us. The responsibility of the contractor who, so the residents feel that there should be a reduction in the taxes by a certain percentage. So what I did is I pulled up all of the municipal properties on that phase 2, and I listed the municipal base tax rate plus the two that are over the minimum, so that, and then also the estimated cost of snow removal, which is actually on the other page. Let's run on the page 1. So the first one just lists the municipal tax rate plus the minimum tax if they're below the minimum, and then the requisition that we get for the school and the summer village. So you can see the total taxes taken by the mill rate, the total taxes taken by the minimum tax. There's only 2 properties that actually have greater than the minimum, because most of them are undeveloped properties at this time. They don't have houses and buildings on them. And then of course, the school requisition, and then the seniors foundation requisition, so the total levy. And then if you go down to the next page is the actual minimum tax rate that we collect, and then the amount over the minimum tax rate for the 2 properties that pay over the minimum, and then what it costs roughly to do snow removal based on, so many snow removals a year. Basically 6 snow removals a year would be roughly $2,400. And so average cost per snow removal is $125, or per property is $125. And the estimated cost of dust control per property is $100. And then grass and weed whipping, if we had to do it, or we had to hire someone to do it, would be, so the total cost to the area per year would be roughly $5,300 per year if the contract has to pay out, or the individuals have to get together and do their own. Because we don't do the service right now, this would be our costs to do those services. So this gives you an estimate of per household, what, if you're considering a tax break to anybody, or because you can't just give it to one individual, so you have to give it to everybody. So you have to decide if you're considering a tax break for 2023's taxes, what it's going to be. So and it can only be.
They are getting this done right now, Dean, with like Craig is paying to have this done at this point for them, right?
Yeah.
So they are actually getting these services done, but just not through us. Is that correct?
Well, we don't do any of the services, yeah.
But they are getting, but it is getting done.
According to the contract, until it's handed over to us, we don't do anything until the CCC or construction completion certificate is done. And he has tendered that out, and he will be getting the work done this year. But we're still not going to do services, and we're still not obligated. He's still obligated to maintain for 24 months after the construction completion certificate. It's known as the warranty period before we're responsible. But council's had those discussions whether we're going to take over after the CCC is given. So assuming everything works out well, we can get the grass cutting equipment in there for the summer, and we can get we can then start doing the snow plowing and dust control. So
right.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving them a break. I think the $280 is too much, because it takes some of these people's taxes down to like in the $400 you know, like $470, and they're still gaining
Yeah.
all the rest of the benefits of being part of our community, the, you know, the beaches and the rest of the roads getting plowed and things like that. I would be comfortable giving them maybe a break of like $100 or something like that, but not the 280.
Okay, and then that's the high end, okay, so you can go anywhere from 0 to 280, but that's the highest end of services that we would possibly offer. Because we don't do garbage collection, there's no water servicing, there's no sewer servicing or anything like that, so that would be the high end, so it's up to council to decide between 0 and 280 what they think. Because it's up to you guys, what do you think is fair, and I'm not gonna recommend any specific number because that's up to you.
Well, Craig is doing the snow removal,
He's hired to
hired,
subcontract.
yeah, farmer, so, that knocks the 125 off of that right away, I guess. And we don't do dust control over there either, do we? No.
No, we don't do any of that. What would you consider 150 a fair market value? Bob?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a break that would be reasonable. I think that would be reasonable.
And it's a one-time deal?
One-time
Yeah,
deal because
the one-time deal, and yeah, we're not gonna do this indefinitely. At some point, we can't keep, like Craig's gotta get it done, so get it signed off and get the construction completion done so that we can take over the village. I mean, that's, he has, you know, so at some point, these residents have to be, and we have to be putting pressure on Craig to get this done. So it would be a one-time deal, I think, or we could review it annually, but it's not going to be for, you know, forever
No,
sort of thing.
As soon as the phase 2 is accepted, then there is another 2-year period after that. But I think
we have to negotiate that.
negotiate that in, yeah. But I guess the lesson from this is on phase, in my opinion anyway, on phase 3 that's coming into the subdivision, that no one occupies any of that property until it's accepted. I mean, that was a mistake.
Yeah, yeah,
Because our liability, like, Craig's up against paying insurance for liability over there too, and the whole schmear. Like, it's just not good practice.
no, I agree. So I mean, I think to be fair to these people, if we're not having to do all these services from them, I think a one-time payment to them is fair. But like I say, yeah, I would say, you know, in the 150 range would be reasonable.
Yeah.
So, do you want to read?
Bob, you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we give the residents of Buffalo Ranch Estates a tax break in the year 2023 of $150 to compensate them for the snow removal and or the services that the village cannot provide at this time to them.
Okay, so I kind of have wrote one before you said that, so I
Okay.
had moved by Councillor Huff to agree to a tax rebate of $150 or credit per property for the municipal portion of the 2023 taxes in Buffalo Ranch Estates
For phase 2.
for phase 2.
Yeah, phase 2.
Phase 2, yes. Yeah, and I would make that motion, yes.
And
Property owners.
phase 2.
You might as well put a 19 in there too, Aaron, just for future 19 properties.
Okay.
is what
19
we're doing.
properties. Well,
Phase 8. I'll just put
total of 19 properties.
19 properties. Okay,
Okay, all in favor?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay. So the next thing here is kind of coming to a head. I've just had a call come in from the reef. And they're wanting to know what's going on with the road servicing agreement. And I guess there's some councilors that aren't very happy about it not being signed back. But I did tell Andrew,
I did tell Andrew that it's gone to our lawyers for review and it'll come back and go to council for, after they get the opinion.
right,
Cause I mean, there's a number of items that the lawyers identified in the contract, and there's a number of items that our planner identified in that offering that is not, a- the council doesn't want
yeah.
in the contract, so.
Okay, so, that's the agreement that was sent to us.
Yes, this is the draft agreement that was sent to us, so it is in camera with the lawyer's
Yeah,
comments
so
for us
the-
later.
So that's part of it, Bob and Ed, that this response from the lawyer is an in-camera item. that We're gonna.
Yeah, so we can hold off till then. I think that's gonna take there's some serious discussion about that.
Okay, so let's,
With the county, it seems like if it involves them and us requesting changes, or requesting things, it takes them a while, but when they want stuff done, they want it done now, and they don't want to go through the proper legislative or legal review process or even discussions with council before we sign anything, right? Because it's gonna lock us in at 40 grand a year for however long. So, and that's coming right out of the tax base. It's not coming out of grant money. So you guys have the responsibility as well to review it thoroughly before you make that final permanent contract. Or,
Well, I think the lawyer, like I read the lawyer's response, and
Yeah.
there was certainly some pretty serious concerns there that we need to take back to the county.
yeah,
okay, so we'll just
table.
do that one for in-camera.
Okay,
So financials, Ian, do you want to take us through it?
yeah. So, this is just the start of the year, and Bob, we wanted to keep it simple, so we're just doing, one page of where we are. So far, we haven't had a lot of revenues. We did receive a check on some grants, but that's on the capital side. But as far as expenses go, like, we just started the year, so this is to the end of January. And we were busy most of the month of January coding outstanding expenses from the previous year so we can close the books. So, a lot of the, adjustments that were made in January were actually December's expenses for like things like power and requisitions and utilities and things like that. So it'll change going into next month. So this is just your basic trial balance, the monthly trial balance, the first one. Okay. So the second one is the what's the total?
Was there any questions on the first one there?
No, I was okay with that.
Okay. So the second one is the one you'll get regularly, and it's basically the summary by department. Where we are per month on revenues and where we are per month on against the previous year. So it's basically, our budget as it sits right now, because we have to adjust that budget once we get the final numbers in the next month or two from the province. And before we set the budget, and it's gonna adjust, and then the actual year to date and the variance. So this will be the standard departmental report, so you'll know where all of our expenses are and all of our revenues are for the departments. So is there any questions on that for the structure? It's simplified. We're not gonna do account by account because Bob had requested maybe during budget and quarterly, we'll do an account by account. Otherwise, we'll do a summary by department.
Yeah, I know. I think I like this. I think it's good.
Okay.
I don't have any questions on it, and I like it. I like it this way.
Okay. The next sheet is just your check registry report, so all the checks that we wrote in January for January, and some of them that we wrote are actually gonna be moved into the previous year, because they're to close the year end, because they're, you know, outstanding utilities or Revenue Canada and other things like that, so. So that's just your check reg,
I got a question.
no questions on that?
Ed's got a question.
Put your mic closer.
Just looking at one here, check number 0023 made out to Future Ag for $3,453.45 for a loom bucket. What is that?
That's just a bucket, that's a larger bucket for our tractor for hauling around soil. And basically it's, they had requested it, so that's basically we ordered that, and got that in place, so. It also gives them the ability to, you know, move stuff around the yard, and we also have forks as well, so that's basically what it is. It's just a larger bucket for the John Deere tractor.
Was that something that we put through on a grant payment, Dean?
Is it something that sorry?
Can that be,
No, because it's not a capital item, essentially. If it was together with a whole bunch of things, it has to be over $5,000. We can lump it together this year with a bunch of items if you guys decide to purchase items and get anything over 5,000 approved. So if you decide, for example, to get they wanted a flail mower or a wing mower for the ditches on the main road, so they can keep the tractor on the main road and reach in with a sort of a little bit of a swing arm and a flail mower or wing mower. They had requested that in your capital budget, so if you guys approve that, and we can go ahead and add the bucket to that with our capital grant. But because it's under $5,000, it's not normally capitalized with the MSI capital grants, but it can be covered by grant if you add extra pieces to the tractor.
I think we should look at that.
Okay.
And I also, my opinion is something that.
Put the mic in front, Lauren. Okay.
Sorry. I guess the fact that council didn't know about it, it's a fair amount of money, so maybe we should have been touched base on it.
Yeah.
I know it's
Well,
not.
I think myself, you're right, Lauren. I think our maintenance, chief there should be on our regular meetings to disclose what he needs this bucket for, because I totally agree. I think that bucket that's on that tractor now is gonna work for what he needs to be hauling, for how much loam he's gonna be hauling around, because I mean,
It's
we don't
not
even,
just for loan, but
the
that's
village
what-
don't even own loam. We don't even have any loam. So the only loam pile that I know of that he's gonna be hauling around is we're stealing it off the new park area over there, where there is a pile over there. And I really think this stuff should be disclosed in front of council before we go ahead and.
Well, it's not
do
just a
this.
single purpose, that's the John Deere name for it, but it can be used for snow removal, driveway clearing, it can be used for a whole bunch of other things. And the current bucket that we had was just way too small, and we can't use it effectively for the snow removal. So basically, most of the use is probably gonna be snow removal and clearing with it, so. But it gives us opportunities to use it for other tools as well. So, I mean, it's not a single-use tool, so, you know, I don't have a problem. It's a relatively useful item that can be used for many uses all year round, so it's not a problem to me, so.
Okay, but maybe even an email just saying it's,
Yeah.
you know, to the council, so they know with that amount of money, it's.
Move the mic in front of you, Lauren.
I think, I was just saying, anything of that large an expense should maybe be, even if it doesn't come to a council meeting, if it's needed, a quick email to all council
Yeah, I can do that, no
for a
problem.
response, and then we know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is I really think that for items like that, like we really need to, it's a really good idea. We might as well utilize as much grant money. And if it's under 5,000, if there's something else we need, then we can, let's lump it together and let's try and use grant money rather than general revenues for those kind of things as much as possible.
Yeah, and in our, purchasing, policy, it's completely fine as far as policy goes, if you wanted to review that sometime. Like the CAO has authority up to, I believe it's around 20 or 25,000.
Okay,
And
if it's a budgeted item, basically, I mean, anything large, anything over $5,000 for capital, absolutely, it'll come back. I
right,
mean, if you guys want to lower that, I have no problem bringing back or sending an email.
I don't
It's up to you guys.
think so, Dean. I think the main thing is that if there's concerns about something that's being bought, at least if it's to that price range, you know,
Mhm.
other than everyday stuff, that council should be able to give an opinion or get some questions answered, that's all.
Sure.
Yeah,
It just makes it better for everybody else too, you know, and then if it's brought up prior to, then there's no questions asked later.
yeah, and I guess that's right too, Ed, because as council, we get questioned by the public on certain purchases that they haven't been, you know,
Yeah.
brought to us, so. Any other questions on the check run?
nope,
Okay. So tax trial,
So basically, at the start of last tax season, before we sent the notices out, we had 26 properties that were outstanding and the amount, I can't remember what the amount outstanding was prior to taxes from the previous year. This year, we're down to 6 outstanding. And there's only 2 that are in the 1 year outstanding, and 1 I'm still trying to track down is 2 years outstanding. So we're going to have to register a caveat against, we've been sending notices monthly to these outstanding, but we're gonna have to send a caveat to Alberta Land Titles and register a caveat against this property this year, and then next year, if they don't deal with it, then it'll go up to tax option in the 3rd year. So we have tax collection process, but everything else we've collected as far as anything outstanding. So we made significant inroads on the outstanding amount. So that's where we're sitting. And so the total amount outstanding on the second sheet is $9,400, which is, you know, pretty good compared to where we were.
yeah, I think that's pretty low. You know, I think that's a fairly low amount. I think that's good because, you know, you're always gonna have a few people that are hard to collect from.
okay,
And the next one is the tax trial balance credits. So basically, because we've got, I think, 120, over 120 now on the 119 we had.
Like 114 to 20, somewhere in
And
there.
around 120 people on the tax installment plan. And so far, because we levy on the 1st or 2nd of each month, so far this year, we've averaged roughly 22,000 a month. And that includes the penalties that were assessed to those other properties. So we're averaging just over $20,000 a month in TIPS program payments, which helps operations and everything. So we don't have to use any of the other funds. So
yeah, I think it's a good program for the ratepayers as well as the
Mhm.
village, like it's good and it's grown since we
Yes.
first started it.
Yeah.
I did have a question. There was my bookkeeper, and it was up 9% when there was a change. So can she get
Oh, okay, I'll explain that. on the, as far as the payment schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can she just phone you?
Yeah,
Okay,
so what we did, previously, they just took the
Okay.
previous year's taxes and without any change for this year, and they divided by 12, which give a rough estimate on what the taxes would be per month. But normally what we do, what I've done in the past is divide by 11. So it takes into account the adjustments that are gonna happen when the levies
Yeah.
are actually put in place. So they're essentially finished paying their taxes by December 1st. And then the slight adjustment will be a small payment in December to catch up. But what happened this year, the way our system was set up, is some of them didn't automatically adjust when we did the levy. So they didn't adjust until August 1st, when it was due. So it was just the way the accounts were set up on some of them. And then, so when we readjusted, people ended up with a huge monthly bump. So they ended up having to pay August 1st, September, October, November, December at a much higher rate than they did in the first part of the year, which shocked a bunch of people. So this year, we won't have that problem. So but she can call and we'll get her set up.
yeah, I think it's still,
And people can still sign up, but the deal is, because we've already collected January and February, they have to pay up to the end of March now, on March 1st. And then after that, they can go on the payments
oh, so
at a lower rate.
it's not only before Christmas to sign up.
No, they can still sign up as long as they pay up in full to that,
Okay,
the date, so they're on par with everybody else.
okay, because I've
So-
had some people ask me that too.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, they can join, they just have to pay up the
But
month.
we'll cut it off, the moment the levy goes out, nobody else can join, because even if they catch up, they've gotten that half a year for nothing. That means when the levy goes out, they're responsible for the full year on August 1st. Then there's no break for them at that point. The levy bills should go out sometime at the end of May, roughly.
okay.
So,
Thank
you know, if they still want to get on board for March, maybe we'll push it to the end of April, that's it.
Okay,
Okay, so then the capital items, the next item is just basically, we've received some provincial grant money and some Parks and Rec grant. That's it for this year, and, as far as expenditures, these are the ones that, were expended last year that have to go back into last year, so we had to put them in this year. Because when we were doing year end, we have to account for them, but they're actually last year's. So the things like, there was expenses to the common services vehicle, which is the truck, there was expenses to the snowplow, there was expenses to the tennis court, expenses to the parking access and trail areas that could be written off. And there were parks, and then there was some admin office expenses that were expended, so that have to be put back into the next previous year. So that's it. So we really haven't spent, other than the bucket, we haven't spent any capital so far.
any questions? Any questions?
No questions, no.
Okay, and then this is just, it's just a different view of things, and this is more or less for you guys in preparation of your budget. This is where we finished the year after the adjustments were made. And this does go by department, but it also goes by all the accounts. So this is your preparation documentation for the budget meetings coming up. And it just shows where we finished the year. And we did finish the year even with the additional expense of the 40,000 to the county. We did finish the year with a very slight surplus. So, and it's, so we're not in a deficit at all, but we're trying to use as much of the available grant money to pay off that first year payment to the county, because they've cashed the check already. So, and we did have some increases in some areas. The biggest increase as far as revenue goes, but also one of the biggest expenses we had this year was subdivision planning development. Because we approved the land use bylaw, and we paid the contractor, but on the other side, we did have a significant amount of new development on the revenue side. So if we get more houses developed, then we'll continue to get those revenues. But we didn't. Right now, without the new subdivision, we won't get a big bump to the tax base. So phase 3, if it's done properly, will help with the future tax bases. But we do need more infill development, housing, and or new development on lots in order to. So that's pretty much it, unless you guys have any specific questions.
When is our next budget, Dean? When is our next budget?
Whenever you guys want to set the date, so.
We'll just have to make sure everybody's done holidays here, so.
Yeah. Well, it would be nice to sit in a room
Yeah,
and do the strat plan
absolutely,
and the
yeah,
budget together, so we can figure out.
Can we set that now, or can we make a date now?
Yeah, you just gotta ask Bob when he's.
Bob,
coming home.
when would you like to do our budget?
I'm home on a week Sunday, so the end of the month. So anytime after that's fine.
Yeah, Lauren's gone for the month of March. So it'll probably say first part of April, I guess, eh?
Sure.
Unless you guys are off to another vacation somewhere.
Well, we
I
have
know
to
I'm
get
not.
the budget approved in March,
Huh?
and so the final budget has to be approved in April, but the strategic plan should be done.
So Lauren has to zoom
Can you
in.
do that from Hawaii?
What day do you leave, Lauren? What day do you leave?
Well, there's not gonna be a radical change to the budget. I mean, you know
No.
that, we're pretty hamstrung
Yeah.
with increases because of the county road cost sharing agreement, so.
If,
What day do you leave, Lauren?
the first, and I get back to the 31st. But the Zoom, the Zoom down there, well, it's like yours, it's fine with me.
I'll send all the documents to you guys to have, and then we can have a Zoom meeting initially.
Yeah, just before I go, I might get hard copies. But this will be what we work off of, isn't it? You won't have any adjustments to this.
No, this is last year's, it's done.
Okay, so will you have one done? I guess you can email it to me and.
Yeah,
I
I'll
can
email
go and
it.
see
And it's just right now, there's only gonna be a slight variance. In fact, some of the department budgets will actually have to go down slightly.
Yeah,
And then we'll have to get more revenues in to offset the road use agreement, road sharing, cost sharing agreement.
yeah,
Well, can we schedule our budget in March meeting? I think we should.
well, that'll make a hell of a long meeting, but.
But I can send you documents ahead of time, so with all
Yes.
of the notes and everything.
Yeah.
But you don't have to officially approve the budget till the end of April.
Yeah, if we
before
can
the Mill rate bylaws.
get it emailed to us, and then we can look at it prior to, and then
Yeah.
that
So
should go
Bob,
quicker.
if you want in person, I think Bob comes back the 26th, if that's the last Sunday of the month.
Yeah, I'm back at early the morning of the 27th. I leave the 26th. It's an overnight
okay.
flight. So-
So you can maybe do the 28th if you want it in person. If not, then,
February.
yeah,
That would be Tuesday.
that'd be a Tuesday.
I could come up for that, but is that,
Let's do her.
'Cause
You got your books, everything's booked now. You're,
Bob will be jet lagged though.
It's
he's a
big budget.
I'm a big boy.
he's a big one.
Okay,
I'd like to get this over with.
And what time? If you wanted to do the 28th. If
Same
not,
time,
9:30.
9:30.
9:30.
You good with that, Dean?
Yep, no problem.
Is that okay, Lauren? Are you packing or do you have to leave or what? You're okay.
Kathy? It'll be okay, but we're going to Calgary to stay overnight on the 28th.
Can you put the mic in front of you, Lauren?
We're going to Calgary on the 28th to stay at the airport, but I'll break it to her easy. How about?
Well, if you'd rather do Zoom, I'm okay anytime in the
Well,
month.
I think, Bob, in person, you're gonna be worse off than me, so if you wanna, are you gonna come up, are you?
I would drive up, yes.
Okay.
So
Let's,
who wants to make the motion to schedule a budget meeting on February 28th at 9:30 a.m.? Who wants to put their name on it?
sure, not me.
Okay,
If Lauren survives.
Oh, well. The Irish.
okay.
Lauren,
And who
Lauren,
wants to
Lauren,
accept
put all the
finan-
blame on us, not you.
Who wants to accept the financial reports as presented?
We need a motion to accept these reports.
I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, council reports.
Do you want me to start?
Yep.
A couple of things. I had one resident email me with a suggestion as far as if we have any capital budgets about having a community dock. So I don't know whether that's feasible or not, but I just thought I would bring it forward. So that's something that a resident had just suggested that that as a capital budget. So I don't even know if that's feasible, but I'll just bring that forward as a suggestion if we ever look at that in the future. The second thing is I had a phone conversation with Tamara from the Hall Society, and they had their meeting on Sunday night to set their yearly schedule of events, and they're still looking at the rec board thing, and they're still collecting information about whether or not joining the rec board. So we're still that's something that's still a work in progress. They're very appreciative of being involved in the planning process for the possible new hall or possible hall expansion. One other thing that they request is that last year, the maintenance, Tim and his maintenance staff watered the flower beds, and they really appreciated that and wondered whether, hope that he was able to do that again next year, because it's the water jugs get fairly heavy for some of the ladies and stuff. So they really appreciated the help from the maintenance staff to water the flower beds that they planted. So that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, in regards to mine, the fish derby that we're Ocean Sands and White Sands and the Board of Trade are putting on is filling up quite well. At the last meeting I attended on Monday, we had 120 people in it, and we expect at least 150 by the weekend to 160. So everybody's really happy with those numbers. They're still looking for ticket sales for their banquet and stuff on Sunday night. So on that end of it, it's looking real well. For the Jacks Pond, the curling bond spiel has come along well. I think we've got close to 10 entries so far. So it's going to entail quite a few people again this year. I think probably what our biggest concern with that, Bob and Lauren, is people are asking that we still need a building down there to be able to serve food or whatever, sit in and keep warm in. I know that the Hall Society still has $5,000 allocated towards that project, and the Hall Society was asking me if we were going to proceed with that. And I do have some plans and some thoughts on that I could get some more information as far as money goes, but I think that should come up in according with our next budget also. Because I know the building itself was planned last year, and it's really fallen off the table. And there's been nothing said about it, so, and I think we should think about doing something down there because it's a very well-used spot for a lot of different people.
Is that something that we can get a grant for?
I'm assuming that we can, for sure. That would not go under recreation, Dean, or somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably go under the recreation end of it.
Parks and Rec.
What was kind of looked at was, them old picnic shelter deals.
Yeah.
It could be.
Move the mic in front of you, Lauren.
That's your job. I don't know.
The thing that was discussed before was kind of the same idea as a picnic shelter. Them old picnic shelters with a stove in the middle. And they could be shut down in the winter time with insulated walls. That's what was talked about before. Doesn't have to be very large, that's for sure. Enough for,
Well,
your tent was.
Well, my tent was 30 feet across, and it would be nicer if it was 45 to 50 feet across. You know, so that you could put a decent enough sized stove in the middle of it, and then be able to keep people away from it, so you don't get burnt or whatever. Something in an octagon shape type thing, and so that the whole face of it's all open, where you could close shutters up and close it right in the wintertime.
Sounds fancy.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
just budget wise, I guess we'll have to, at our meeting, look at that.
yeah,
We don't want to get into the position where we're doing things that I know it's hard to wait for them, but we got to sort of do the priorities as well. And not try as much as possible not to.
well, I think
Put
we
it on
should
the
work
tax.
harder because our priorities have been taken 2 or 3 years already.
Well, we do have staff with
Yeah.
skills.
We do have
So-
staff that have capabilities.
We have staff that have skills and capabilities, so if you buy the lumber, they can build something for you. I mean, they can order some, depends how big it is, they can order some trusses and they have the skills and abilities to, build something for you very easily on site. There's probably people in the community that might
That would
want to help with that.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
Now, with those man hours, could that reflect with our grant? Where's our grant?
we can, if we can put volunteer hours
Yeah.
towards it
Yeah.
and as a matching and equipment and materials and supplies if we do, but yes, it can be applied. But our staff, no, but their
Yeah.
volunteer staff, yes.
I think that's something that we should definitely look into, like, and put it into our budget for upcoming.
Yeah, but then we can also buy a good size calf warmer shed and just close in the one side and put a flooring in, right?
Exactly.
So that's other options, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, so, I should probably, I'll do this one in camera.
Sure.
There was a question asked about the RV bill for number 23 and 21 Horseshoe Lane. And I just don't know what the status was on that, Aaron,
I won't,
because
I don't know the name, like I'm no better with the name then, but you know what, I'd probably say the name, but
Which one is that? Is that the one with the 3 feeders on it?
no,
23, 29.
It's the store ones.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the, I don't know, like,
What's the issue?
yeah,
So
I
that
might
we can
remember that
identify,
way.
'cause she knows it by name. I sometimes know it by the map.
Okay, so there was just, it was the direct control, so there was no RV there, and it was charged.
oh, I think I know that one, and then it was somebody else's that parked on there,
Well, it was where the store was,
okay.
and Craig called me up and said he was charged for 2 years for RV parking there. Well, there was never, ever no RV parking there.
Well,
If
I
there
just-
was, it was somebody that pulled in to stop at the store, and she went by and counted that RV as.
Yeah, but
being-
it would have been the full number of months, so we can look at that. Cause she does it weekly, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
would have been there consistently. We don't charge if it's only there temporarily.
From what I seen on that.
The report, cause I gave you the
there was only
report.
one. So I don't, it's something that we have to look into,
Yeah,
definitely.
But if there's still one, they still have to pay the $300.
If they're which,
If there's only one on there, they still have to pay the $300 regardless.
yeah.
there never ever was one on.
It doesn't matter, like, they still have to pay 300 to register to keep it active if there was one at any point in time.
Okay, but if at any point in time there wasn't one, are they still charged $300?
No.
I charged someone who doesn't come out very often and they had the trailer out for a bit and $300.
Register.
What's it called? There's no main dwelling, so the RV is supposed to be $300.
Yeah.
if it's over 30 days.
If it's over, like, so you're having a bare lot and you're having an RV come out for a weekend or a week and you're not charging them $300 if they're not,
No,
Register.
the land use bylaw says if they're over 30 days, they have to be over 30 days.
Before you charge them?
Yeah, and
Well,
off,
that changes this whole thing around big time.
no, and then off for 10 and
We
back
have to,
on.
everybody has to register,
yeah, if you have it, yeah, I thought you had to register and stuff like that.
you know.
Cause I'm gonna be sending out bills to every vacant lot this year for $300. So I'm not playing the catch-up game or 600 if you're.
Whether they have a trailer on it or not.
Mhm.
Well, if they had a trailer on it previous, yes, because they had a whole history of a year or longer.
So I'm
So
sending
you're
out like
banking
bills.
on, they're gonna put it back there again this year.
We have to go based on the history, what they've done in the past is what they're
Yeah.
gonna do in the future, and then we send an invoice, and if they send it back to us and say that they're not gonna put a trailer on this year, then we'll just credit the account. But
Yeah.
otherwise, we still have to
Take
send it
off the
out.
invoice or whatever.
So you're
but-
doing the right thing. It's
Yeah.
just that, if someone comes out and has a lot and just camps there for the weekend or whatever and goes away, they don't pay $300.
If they've never registered in the past, or then we wouldn't know, they're not on our list that we send out to.
Well, I'll phone you, Aaron. I'll look it up.
Okay.
Take too much time now.
Yeah, so we were discussing this issue and we did start a discussion with Leanne about it, and I can't remember where we left off with it, but there was a trailer beside the store
That's on the other lot though.
that's on the other
And I
lot,
paid that.
and the trailer was on
And I told him that.
that other lot, like the mobile trailer is not considered a dwelling, so would it be considered a?
How can it be considered an RV? We're selling chocolate bars out of it.
Yeah, I know, but that, I don't know if the person who was doing the inventory was considering it as a dwelling or considering it as a mobile trailer
Well,
or,
we gotta figure this out because
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
because we have no problem with crediting it, we just have to get down to the meat and potatoes of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the store it's in direct control district and it's not an RV, that's for sure. 'Cause it's not on wheels.
Yeah, and we did tax it as an improvement, so it is,
Yeah, well, we can,
so,
if you just don't mind looking into it. I
Yeah,
guess
we'll-
You'll have all the stuff.
yeah, 'cause we have no problem crediting it, it's not a big issue,
Yeah.
so.
Cause essentially what's gonna happen this year for anyone who does it, is I'm just gonna take out the invoice in the system, right?
Right,
Cause I'm sending them out before like the season kind of starts.
No,
So-
near when the season
Yeah,
starts.
like when
so,
taxes come out. So,
yeah.
Okay, so,
And we've got those, how many accounts? 4 accounts, I think, that had been billed double, because they used double.
Yeah.
So we're crediting those accounts, and if they want a check back, we're gonna send them a check, but otherwise we're crediting those accounts.
So
For
if
the
I
one
get,
extra.
if I get a phone call, I can mention that to him, that you're looking into.
Yeah,
crediting?
absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
we're just,
absolutely.
we're looking into, I wouldn't say credit yet,
Right.
but
Yeah,
they're looking.
in
into it.
that case, we'll have to talk to Leanna, make sure everything's good with the planning side, make sure everything's,
Then give it to our inspector.
we just have to explain it so that the auditor and our accountant understands it, so.
okay,
Okay, next one.
So Dean, I couldn't find anybody for a scribe for you yet, or whatever. So I don't know whether we should advertise, or what do you feel?
Well, that's, I mean,
Was Melissa interested?
yes, I am talking to her about a couple projects because, well, as you know, we've got to do the whole lease, and with the lease, there's 3 documents that have to be prepared. So
Right,
she's willing to help out with those. I'm gonna build the templates with her, and then she's willing to, we'll have to take all the pictures and put everything together for those documents for our request to the province, and then they will prepare the lease and decide what they're willing to accept and what we negotiate with them, right? So she's agreed to help out with both of them for both communities, so
When
that
can
will
we
free up
get her
some
to
time.
start on that?
goes on.
When can we get her to start?
Well, she's gonna swing by and discuss the items, because we've got a few close-up items for White Sands from the previous 21 reports. We have a map report. It's called the Municipal Accountability Report that has to be prepared. So she prepared it for you guys last year, but there was 3 or 4 outstanding items, like, you know, to do with the election and a few other things. And so she's gonna help me, because I don't know the history on some of them, but she's gonna help with those.
And I think that's great.
Yeah,
So,
and
Yeah.
she's willing to help.
Can you? let
Bob,
know?
do you understand that conversation?
Yeah,
So, Melissa is gonna give the office some hand, because like Aaron, isn't able to be there every day.
yeah,
That's a busy office over there. Well, you know that.
yeah, no, I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
And I'll let you know what she agrees to for contract fee. I'll send you guys around, because she's gonna do a per project. She doesn't want to be paid an hourly rate. She wants to be paid per project so that she can work on it whenever she wants. Because she's enjoying her, semi-retirement, whatever she calls it. She wants flexibility because of her grandson and stuff like that, and I get that. So, we'll figure out a per cost per project, and then I'll send it to you guys to get approved.
Can I ask, was she successful?
For which?
Their last episode here, their last mission.
Haven't heard yet.
Haven't heard yet,
Oh,
so I don't know. Yeah,
so I had another, ratepayer was, as a suggestion, was, thinking that, in maybe the long weekend in May and maybe in the fall, bring in a roll-off dumpster for, items that were going into the garbage instead of, logistically, it would be kind of difficult. I mean, we've tried it years ago, but it was abused. But the idea was to bring in a dumpster on a long weekend for people to put items in there that were, to go to the landfill and weren't household garbage. So I don't know whether it would work again or not. There's a tendency for abuse. I mean, if you put one here just for brush and logs or whatever, then sometimes you get a fridge or a stove and all that crap in there too, you know. It's difficult unless it's in a gated man.
And watch like a hawk.
Yeah, well,
It is difficult, but it's a good idea.
we used to have a spring and fall cleanup program where the guys would, people would put stuff to the front of their driveway on a specific day or weekend. And then our guys would go pick up those items like fridges and whatever and haul them to the dump.
Yeah,
So,
that's controllable. Maybe that's
Yeah,
a better idea.
so if we pick a specific day, and then if we have to hire some people from Stellar to come out and haul some stuff, if we don't have a big enough trailer or whatever, to lift stuff if we don't have the manpower. But generally, it's just two guys can handle some old fridges and stoves and whatever that need to go to the recycling. So we don't end up with that, and then we can get an extended dumpster just for a short period in May, like the long weekend, so people can clean out their spring cleanup of their yards.
Yeah.
But we should have some kind of burn system, cause I know Roshan does, and that helps them a lot, cause we have a place where people can dump, and Lauren takes it to his burn pile in the park, and they get rid of all the branches.
Right, in
So
that
we don't
little trailer.
actually, and then we use the ash to put in our soil mix for the
Find an old
garden.
trailer would be perfect. And
This conversation was going to be brought up in the in-camera session.
Okay, sure. So there's things we can talk about as council and think about, so.
Okay, so just, if you guys give it some thought and maybe roll it around in your head and see what the solutions would be. But I never thought about
Okay.
that. I know Stettler does a door-to-door once a year too. I mean, there is people here that don't have any way of hauling stuff either, but you know, I don't know how far you go with it. Okay. Michael Dehan is circulating the village and doing a project for school, mainly a photography project. So just to let know whoever's listening that he'll be around, and he's not a thief or whatever else.
Is Michael Dehan?
Yeah.
Does that work?
When I like to, yeah.
And I did get a hold of Tom Cole,
Oh,
the
finally.
people for the tennis court. And this is, like, I mean, we've been sitting ready for it, and I told him, I said, is this gonna be the year? Because we can try and find someone else, and they said, yes, it would be, and he would get a hold of us. So we can set up water supply for them. And I have another gal that is willing to help with some of the design as far as the color of the lines. Carolyn Cheatham has volunteered. There was a request through an email to look in, because we have this extra money we gotta use, to look into water servicing for the village. So I couldn't answer it right off the top of my head, but I thought it was way over our head. So I got a hold of the engineers that look after our Shirley McClellan Water Commission from Stantec. And so we just went over a review of, you know, how many lots we have, the roads, how much mileage of roads. We're in about, right now, 6 kilometers of road. And our build out will be 505 lots. And they said that we're probably, and the system that they were talking about would not give us fire suppression to help insurance or anything else. It would be strictly a trickle system. And I said, what ballpark are you looking for? And he said, more than likely about, without a reservoir, about $5 million. Plus the people
But
that,
that's to every single household?
no, that's the system.
Okay.
And then if you want to take it from the road To the house, it's around $15,000. That would be the responsibility of
Right.
the ratepayer. So it's just out there for information. And I phoned the fellow back, and when I explained it to him, he said, "Oh, well, thanks for exploring that," and had no idea that it would be that expensive. So it's,
Yeah, one of the options we could look at, and there's a couple other companies that do smaller, because we don't have to treat anything, it's just holding, storage and pumping.
right.
So, there's a fellow out of, it used to be called Lac Diamond and whatever that other communities,
Turner
they've
Valley.
now formed another community. He combined their systems and he's helping small communities set up distribution systems off of the central, pipeline distributions. And, what we could do is look into getting at least the water to the potential new hall site. And then then we can look at over time, getting grants to put loops through the community and then have our own filling. It has to have a backup pump system, but it has a small reservoir. We don't need a reservoir on the scale. If we have to scale up later on, we can scale up. All we need is a reservoir and a pump house, just because we're not going to do fire suppression. We're basically just offering it.
Yeah.
We need a minimum of a 6-inch line so that at the end of the line, we can put a hydrant for flushing. Because if the water stays in the line too long, it gets stagnant and then it no longer meets spec.
Yeah, they were talking a small line,
Yeah,
and also, there would have to, the thing is, if you start doing your own system, then you gotta have a operator to test water all the time. If you have
we
a
test water at the
reservoir.
hall.
But if you
Every
come
week.
off the line, you can go to the hall, and you don't need to have that tested, but you still have, it would have to be in a containment system.
Yeah, the moment you store anything, you have to have the ability to boost the chlorination. If the tank in the winter, say you don't draw enough water,
Right.
you have to have a gaseous chlorination tank system. So that's a possibility, but in the summertime, it would have enough flow that it wouldn't.
Yeah. But the
So
other,
we can look into that for,
yeah, the other
council.
part of, like, this is all just down futuristic, but the other part of that bigger system that they're talking about, it would have to be put into cisterns because there has to be a break in between.
yes.
So it has to go in plastic cisterns in your basement or whatever else, so.
Yeah, so individuals would look after that, but as far as the community goes, we can create a 6-inch loop system and cover a fair amount of the community, just by doing distribution, and that's a simple tank storage pumping system. So depends where you put it. If you just have to pump from the reservoir up to a tank and you can use head pressure on a hill around the community, then you don't need as much pump pressure going out to the community because you can use gravity,
Yeah,
right? So,
okay, that's about all I got. I
Okay.
have a few more things, a couple more for in camera, but.
okay.
So then Dean has given his report.
Yeah, I've got the report as far as the biggest item that we're going to be working on coming up will be those 3 reports that have to accompany the lease, because we can't prepare the lease document. It has to be prepared by the Alberta Environment Team. We had our meeting with the Alberta Environment Team via Zoom last week or the week before. So they listed what we need to put in place. So that's why I had the discussions with Melissa. So we'll be focusing on those as well as budget and strategic planning for you guys. And grant writing. So I'll give you guys a list of all the grants that are available and the dates that they're due. So we can apply for the provincial, federal, recreation, parks, other grants. And then of course our MSI money we get every year, but so you guys will know the dates, because we want to match whatever we have to spend. We want to match to make sure we're getting maximum value for the money that we're forced to spend. And then even if we do the community hall as our goal, then if we get it to a certain state, we've expended the money, but we've used maximum amount of grant money from different programs. And then we might have to do something every year beyond that to finish the hall. But,
Yeah, and that's if the public agrees. Like,
if the
we-
public
we
agrees,
gotta-
but
we
if
gotta
we
keep
don't,
that in
then you
mind.
still have to spend the money. So
Yeah,
if you guys need to think about your alternatives. So if the public says, no, we don't want a community hall, well, then you're in this time frame, you're looking at, finishing off what you have now or buying equipment or, building some other smaller buildings around the parks or whatever, but you've got to expend the funds. Like, there's not much you can do to this hall other than paint and furnishings and stuff.
When would we have to have this public meeting for the hall?
Well, I mean, shortly, because I know the cost per square foot, because I've been reviewing them because of the Snack Shack project, and all the contractors have sent their cost per square foot. So it's just a matter of us getting a square footage and saying, here's the approximate amount of money to get it to lock up, here's the approximate amount to finish it.
Could we schedule that meeting now?
We might as well do it when we do our budget.
Okay.
And that's like in how many days? 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 13 days.
Because I mean, we'll have a rough concept design, but
It's just to let the public know, give them enough time so that they can.
yeah. But what we should be doing is if we have talents in the community, if we've got engineers or builders or contractors.
Well, that should be. in
We
part
should
of the
invite them
proposal.
to the table to help us with the budget to figure this out, because at the end of the day, if we've got resources in the community that have those skills and talents, whether it's location, whether it's style, whether it's type, we want to tap those resources, right?
Yeah, you're
So
right. Yeah.
we should invite them to a meeting to discuss that, because right now, we're at this level, we're at a very high level for the design concept. And we need to bring it down to more granular costs and location and stuff, and it needs
Right.
to needs to be tighter.
Right.
So we need to bring those people in.
okay.
So that's those items. There's a Fire Smart meeting. I think you guys all got invited to that. So I'm gonna apply to see what kind of Fire Smart grants we can get, so we can keep, as you notice, there's been a lot of dead trees cut down, and we've moved them all, a lot of the materials in the park now. So we're trying to encourage people to be more Fire Smart. And we'll hand out the Fire Smart flyers to individual residents so they can clean up around their properties, make sure there's no trees over the houses and things like that. And we'll continue to get rid of the dead trees around the community.
Yeah, and I, just on that,
Yeah,
Fire Smart, this was a few years.
I did find the study. I did find that.
Oh, okay.
I got that now.
There was a few years ago with the Fire Smart that I had applied for grants. And I think I did it maybe 2 or 3 times, but they were always denied because they were looking after people with more spruce and pine trees around their villages, like up north.
Mhm.
So that's where they awarded the grants.
Yeah,
But they did do an assessment on the whole village.
yeah. I
So-
found that
So
assessment.
this Fire Smart grant itself, would that suffice equipment at all?
I think
That bring
it
in
was
equipment?
more for removal of brush and like when we did the fire roads. And we did that one over to Peter Brody's, that kind of stuff. Because that was one of their main things, was there was only one way out of the village and they wanted 2.
Mhm.
So we're rated pretty high as far as looking after ourselves.
Mhm.
Because of the fact we don't have spruce and pine trees very much in the village, it's not like a place up north. We have the 2 exits. We have the fire roads, so we take care of.
Mhm.
Like, we're doing pretty good. I think we have to educate the public some more, so that's a good idea to get some
Yeah.
information that we can pass.
I
around.
agree that I think education is the big thing, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
only so much that our village staff could do. I think they do a good job of cleaning up the brush, but they only have so much time. But
Yeah.
I think educating people, so they don't have a property that's kind of, has a lot of hazards and stuff around it. Because one property could, if it went up with one property, by the time the fire department came out, we'd have 20 properties ruined.
Yeah, I did put a couple items like you asked in the last newsletter I submitted, but it's gonna be sent
Today.
out
Today.
today. There was just a couple small things, but I have the list off of the Fire Smart program of suggestions for what people can do in their own yards. And so I'm gonna put them periodically in the newsletter, you know, a few.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's good.
So we're, anything out of your?
No, the only
outside?
other verbal part is, we did receive a couple emails, from residents about suggestions for spending of the grant. One was the, surfacing of the pickleball court, tennis court, and then the possibility of building a basketball hoop, area that could be used for the kids. Just, resurfacing or something like that. That was a request. And, cause we do have a hoop itself.
Well, we got two basketball.
But there's a request to surface and put pickleball lines around, that was one of the requests, and then,
I'm just gonna say something about pickleball here is we have to be very careful about where we put pickleball courts. Because the noise of those things will drive people crazy. So if you
And
put a
the other one-
pickleball,
yeah, and cause I know the Roshan Sands has their pickleball tournament, and there are residents from here that go there regularly, and there's also county residents who go there, so. I don't know if we're set up like
Yeah, the courts, the lines are on the court.
okay,
Yeah.
there was something about a tennis court surfacing or something, I'm not sure.
Well, maybe they're talking about what we've already budgeted for that,
Okay,
that 29,000.
okay, so it could be, and that's pretty much it, there was, what was the other suggestion anyways?
I'm trying to think what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other suggestion was.
It was down putting
Oh, putting like storage boxes.
Oh,
that
yeah,
would access-
temporary storage boxes up here so that people can store stuff for the winter in the containers.
yeah, they were talking
And I
about
don't-
beach access 4 and 5.
Yeah, beach access 4 and 5, that was it. So we can discuss that in our strat plan and in our budgeting and other things, so. That's pretty much it, other than like, Lori will be finishing, wrapping up the year end, we'll invite the auditor in. They'll do the audit, then Lori will present the financial statements to you guys. And then we will send the financial statements to municipal affairs in the first couple weeks of March. I think our deadline is April, sometime in April. So we'll have year-end financial reports for you guys. We're pretty much caught up. There's very little left in last year that you guys don't know about already from these other reports.
Yeah.
So, and then it's just planning for the future year.
Okay. So move to
it?
accept them reports.
Yep.
Okay.
And all in favor?
I agree.
So under business, council appointment assessment review
Okay, so
board.
Trask, or the Capital Region Assessment Board announced their new members of the board, so we just have to appoint them. Because if there's an assessment appeal, then it goes to this group. So if you want to give a motion to approve these members, and you're just gonna put those members in, just like the last one from the
Okay.
org review. So just the
Yeah.
whole thing,
I'll copy it.
yeah.
So do we know these people or I mean,
No.
is it,
No, because
No, we don't, Bob.
Because there are people that have been through the training program, and the capital region is the Edmonton Capital Region. So they've formed us through Capital Region Assessment Authority is the only one we can use, because we don't have our own assessment appeal authority anymore, because it requires extra training of all the counselors. So everyone in the province goes through CRASC for their assessment appeals. So they have access to the assessors, and they have access to the people that are trained to do it. So, and that's, they send a list to us, but it's a requirement under the new MGA that we appoint and make a motion of council to accept their board representation. Cause we
Okay,
do
that's
pay a
fine.
small-
Yeah,
Yeah, we pay a small fee every year just in case there is an assessment appeal.
Okay, so I mean, I would be willing to make the motion to accept these people as our assessment review board.
all in favor?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, the traffic study.
Okay, yeah, so there previously had been a request for council. They told us they were gonna do this South Shore gross node traffic study and they applied for the grant. But now if they don't get the grant, they wanna know what cost sharing we're going to agree to for the grant or for the study. And they've tendered out the RFP for this growth node study. They've invited 5 engineering firms to bid on it. One is WSP, Stantec, and I can't remember the other 3. And basically, with this request for decision from the county, if they get the grant, it's up to a maximum of $75,000 for the study for the growth node region. And then if they don't get the grant, they want us to pay, the county will pay 78% of the total cost. And they're asking us to pay, based on population or based on lots, 8.7% of the total, and this for Ocean Sands, and 13.3% of the total for White Sands, based on the estimated number of lots of 505.
Yeah, out of the
Dwelling.
Buffalo Lake IDP.
Right. And so that would mean we'd be on the hook. If they don't get the grant, we'd be on the hook for 13%
13%.
of 75,000, which is.
And I don't really have a problem with it because of the fact that that's it, full build out,
Mhm.
and them numbers came from the IDP. Like it's just
coming from these guys.
it wasn't pulled out of a hat or anything. So I'm certainly in agreement.
So
with that.
it'd be $9,975 based on that if they don't get any grant money.
Yeah,
So if you guys pass a motion to accept, then you're accepting their request for decision.
do you have any questions? Ed or Bob?
No, I don't.
Is this going to help us out, like, as far as knowing?
Well,
Like,
the biggest deficiency in the growth of the area and the traffic, I guess when you guys had the whole Paradise Shores thing, one of the appeals was there was no traffic studies in the region. And then of course, the county, because they put the road ban on and I asked them right away when we first had the meeting, if they were willing to do a traffic study because that's what's needed. And they said, no, you guys can do the traffic study. But now they've applied for the grant and they're willing to take the majority of the responsibility cost-wise if they don't get the grant to ensure the traffic study is done for the area. Because if they want to expand anywhere along the South Shore growth node, it's not just White Sands or Ocean Sands and then the county properties, Paradise Shores, or what it is going to be in the future, but it's also all the way down to Old McDonald Farm and all along the South Shore. So it's going to cover all of the exits and access roads into the communities. So,
And I think when you get a traffic study like this done, that it's permanent for the amount of development each municipality is allowed.
mhm.
And it's not gonna change because they'll have to fit, everybody's gonna have to fit the developments around this road study. It's a fairly permanent thing. It hasn't been done. It's been done a little bit in the South Shore IDP, but that's
Yeah, not in detail.
yeah, and the South Shore IDP only includes Ocean Sands and White Sands because the county has their area structure plan.
so you think this study is important, Lauren? Do you?
I truly do think it is
Okay.
extremely
Yeah.
important, yeah.
That's good. And the other question is, I mean, what is the odd we're going, what are the odds we'll get the grant money? I mean, I guess it's hard to predict, but is this the type of thing that typically gets grant money?
Well, I think the biggest thing about it is, Bob, that it's collaboration. So there's 3 municipalities looking at applying for the grant altogether. And the other part is the county of Stettler is extremely interested, as well as they have the people that have done grants for years and applying. So the chances are pretty good. They might not get the whole amount, but I'm pretty confident they'll get some.
Okay, well, no, I think it's a good idea.
And it's a good year, a good time of year to do it, because the Shirley McClellan Water Commission, it hasn't been official, but it's 99% done. $11 million, 90-10 funding to put the water line, the last leg of the water line through the county of Camrose. And it's approved, and it was a big surprise. Huge.
I think this is a valuable thing to do.
Yeah.
So if you want to move it.
Who wants to move the
Bob?
approval?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, so the RFP went out last week as far as for the engineers, so that's basically the part 2 of that.
Okay. The accreditation.
My concern over this process was that in doing the traffic study, they were just looking at volumes and they weren't looking at conditions. So they weren't looking at the conditions of the roads. So the 2 main roads that I'm concerned about for White Sands and Roshan Sands is 404 to 56 and 202 to 601. I don't care about the rest. I want to know what they're made of. So if we have to apply for grants in the future, then we know that what it's going to take to either pave that road or make it a better surface. So the county doesn't have to send us a bill of $40,000 a year indefinitely. So was my concern. And, you know, that's going to come out of the traffic study. The future recommendations will be to apply for grants to look at the actual conditions of all the roads and the road widths and the carrying capacity and the highway access turnoffs and all that other stuff will come out of the traffic study, but there'll have to be more work done. So.
And that's part of the beauty of having that report, is that when you apply for upgrades to roads, then you have that to send with it right away. Like it could maybe be fooled around with a bit, but you can certainly send it to the government and say, look, we've already done the studies.
The other aspect that I think that's good is that, I mean, if they find any safety concerns, you know, if there's a road that needs a stop sign or something like that or whatever, you know, I think it's just money well spent if it saves a life down the road or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so moving right along.
So the accreditation, we're listed as an accredited body, and where we have to submit reports to Alberta Safety Codes. And we hire a contractor, IJD, to do all the safety codes inspections. But we also have to have training and do annual reports and past management plans and all kinds of other stuff in order to be accredited as a joint agency with Roshan Sands. Roshan Sands has decided that they don't want to be an accredited agency anymore. They just want the people to apply directly to IJD, and we would take the information, give it to IJD, but we wouldn't be responsible for all the management forms and documentation and management plans for each municipality anymore. That because we don't get a huge revenue, and the revenue wouldn't drop that much for us submitting directly to IJD, but the county doesn't have their own inspectors, their own accreditation team and stuff like that for safety codes. It gets appointed by Safety Codes Council directly to the inspectors. So they've decided that they want to write a letter to we'll do it for this year, but ongoing from 23 on, they're not gonna do it. So Leanne is, like, I don't know if she is accredited for the town, but I have to take a whole bunch of extra courses as well as do the management plan. Most of the work is generally done on the reporting by IJD anyways. They have to submit their own reports and use the system. But Roshan Sands decided there's not enough revenue to justify them doing the accreditation. So they wanted me to look into getting out of the accreditation. We're way too small of a community. We don't bring in a huge revenue from it. We'll still get some revenue because we get a referral revenue for IJD and safety codes, but we don't have to go through the management plans and annual reporting and stuff like that.
So would that knock your workload down a little bit?
I don't do a lot on it anyways. I do talk to IJD a bit, but we won't have to keep all the files in our office anymore and provide the audit side of it. They provide it, they keep it all. And so we're not required. We will get a report from them because both sides, Leanne gets a development permit report, and the development permit that she issues starts all those other permits. So if she gives a development approval or I give a development approval, then we have to start the process, but it's up to the homeowner or builder or contractor to apply for all those permits, and then we don't have to chase them anymore. But right now, we have to make sure we're liable, like we're liable right now under the management structure we have. There's quite a thick document, a management plan that we have to comply with. And I barely had time to read the management plan, much less actually
That's why I asked.
execute it. So, I mean, I did that before year end, but then there was 4 training courses that are required for the reporting and stuff, so. So if you guys.
So what is your
want me to look into getting out
recommendation,
of it-
Dean?
Pardon?
Dean,
Well,
what is your recommendation?
What's your recommendation?
Well, if Roshan Sands getting out of it, then it's just me doing it for you guys. So,
Is
but
IJD,
I'm waiting. IJD is still doing all the work.
they're doing motion too?
So the motion would be for if you guys are interested in doing it, would be that write a letter to Alberta Safety Codes to find out how we can stop doing the accreditation program. And so we just go directly to the safety codes and IGD instead of being the accredited agency. So,
Probably simplifies a lot of stuff.
well, we might still have some responsibilities. So we still have to give our development permits to IJD and all that stuff. And I just have to figure out how much revenue we would lose. But if you want to write a letter requesting the process to get out of it, then I'll write that. So that's basically the motion.
Yeah, and if we could find out what kind of revenue we're looking at.
Well, it's in the budget, but I can
Yeah.
figure out, I don't know what we would lose, but I know it takes time. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
well,
not upset.
that's part of it too, is trying to unload some of that crap that we.
But whether
keep on
whether or
getting.
not you guys, because at this point, you guys have the potential of being audited. So,
Well, the county.
I'm
is-
still, okay, I'm still kind of not understanding this. So this is when somebody is building a house that we have to check their safety and stuff like that?
well, everybody that gets a development permit is required to file safety codes under the provincial acts for
Okay,
all building activities. So we just refer the development permit and the individual is responsible. And I generally send the development permit to IJD, and so they have a heads up. But if somebody doesn't come and pull permits from them, it's their responsibility to go chase them down. For right now, it's my responsibility to chase down people to make sure they have their permits issued. And I don't know if Leanne is doing that on our behalf or not. I didn't talk to her specifically about it. But at the end of the day, it's the accredited agency's responsibility to ensure people are applying, even though that says right in the permit, it says you're responsible for contacting this. This permit doesn't absolve you of liability. If they don't, like we've had some residents that haven't. So I had to chase them down and get them to apply for their electrical permit, their plumbing permit, their HVAC permit with IJD, because they just thought they got the development permit, that's all they need. So.
So in that case, if that wasn't done, then the development officer still orders a stop order on that property, or would IJD interject?
Yeah,
So it would be us that do a stop order.
not very often, but sometimes people start building even before they get their development permit.
But that
Then
would
we
still-
issue,
that
we
would
still have to
be
do
our
that.
Responsibility.
Yeah, because the development permit kicks off the building permit and all the other permits associated.
Okay,
So if you guys
So
wanna.
it kind of sounds to me that if we wanted to stay overseeing this, that we would almost have to have sort of a part-time person doing this for us, because it's something that you wouldn't have really time to do, Dean.
Well,
So
yeah,
so we're maybe better to get out of it, even if there is a bit of revenue, because we'd probably have to pay somebody and there'd be some costs involved down the line, wouldn't there?
I don't, at this point, you're so small that paying someone would be not a good use of money,
Yeah.
but, I can send you guys, like, you don't have to make a decision on this today, but, because we're gonna send in the 2022 report with IJD anyways, based on the management plan that we've signed. But going forward in 2023, I would like, to investigate to see if it's worth it for us to stay in it for the revenue, or if it's worth it, because if we hire someone, it's probably not gonna be, the revenue's not gonna cover the cost of that person.
Yeah, I would rather not make the decision today. I would rather,
Okay,
I still think I need a little more
Well,
information on
you
this
want
stuff.
at least to pass a motion that we investigate the cost of doing so, and notifying Alberta Safety Codes of our interest in leaving the program, or something like that?
I think so, as far as.
Yeah, I agree.
I could just
Yeah,
write him a
I think-
letter
yeah.
asking for the steps to be.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we could pass a motion that we're investigating the possibility of this pending more information to the counselors. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, you're gonna make that motion, Robert?
I will make that motion. Yes.
All in favor, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay. Okay,
All right, so Big Jack Classic. Fishing Derby.
yeah. So, what we're looking for is we're still looking for, there was one before that one.
That residents suggest. the use of
There's
federal
that
grant money.
suggestions about,
Storage units.
Oh, for the
Storage
storage
unit.
units,
There we
sorry.
go.
yeah. And this is for information, you don't have to make a decision on that, but you might want to forward it to your planning meeting and budgeting meeting to discuss.
Okay,
So,
Yeah, a couple of things about this letter. One is, yeah, I think we have to look at it as a budget for, if we can get grant money for it. The second thing is, I think it's something that has to be involved in our, the rec lease plan for the right of way too, right?
no, actually, it would all be on MR.
this would be an MR, so.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
I think, when you look at beach access 4, there's no room down there.
Okay,
We're very
yeah, I would
much-
have to look at,
I don't know.
I would like to do a walkabout in the area too first, right?
Yeah, and there's already been a complaint about the outhouse down there, but I don't know where we would move that either, so.
Yeah, so we can just pass a motion to pass it to the strategic planning and budgeting meeting,
Right.
and then we can discuss it. And if you guys want to push forward, we'll take it to the community when we do all the other, because obviously the shoreline management plan and the MR management plan and all that other stuff that goes with the lease has to be
Yeah,
discussed and brought to the community before you guys sign anything with the province anyways, right? So,
So do we need to pass a motion or do we just put that,
well,
put that
just so
into
it
the
doesn't
street?
get, just so it doesn't fall through the cracks, if you want to
Okay,
just
fair
pass a
enough.
motion to move it to the budget
Yeah,
and
budget meeting.
strategic planning meeting.
Who wants to
Okay.
move it?
I'll do that.
And I'll let them know that we're, council's thinking about it.
Fishing derby.
So you
Do
guys
we need
all
to
know,
make that,
Ed,
do we
you
need to
got
make that
Ed's
motion and
report?
vote on it?
What?
The tickets are for sale,
Oh, sorry, just back, did we make that motion and vote on the putting that to the, I don't think we
Lauren,
voted on that,
Yeah,
right?
I made the
Lauren made
motion.
that.
All in favor? I don't know
In
whether.
favor,
come
I
up-
agree, yes, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, just to be, sorry to be a pain, but just to be thorough here.
Okay, Derby.
So this is the handout. They're still looking for tickets. There's still some tickets available online. But we're gonna be hosting coffee and hot chocolate in here, and I might pick up some Tim Hortons donuts. But we're looking for some volunteers to help out, just to man the station to give people,
Yeah.
yeah, so we do need some
Because the
community
hall will be
volunteers.
open from
The hall will be open from whatever time
till whatever time,
Yeah.
2 days.
for 2 days, and I'm willing to do a full half-day morning on Saturday, but I'm probably not Sunday. Maybe the morning I'll help out, but we do need some community volunteers to come and make sure the coffee pots are,
So we gotta put that out there immediately.
It is today.
I will, after the meeting, when I get back to the
Yeah.
other one, but then I'll do like a Facebook post too
Yeah.
or something.
but we
and
still
share
need
it
some
in.
volunteers. If
So-
council wants to volunteer or knows anybody that wants to volunteer.
I'm not sure about my schedule, but I'll be down here. The thing is, if we don't get enough volunteers, then we'll just have to close it up. I mean, what else are we gonna do?
Well, they rented the hall, not us, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
volunteering for
Well,
the
you can't leave the hall open.
Byron's team, right?
No one here.
So I've volunteered to come in and set up the coffee carafe and the water carafe and put the hot chocolate out, whatever. And then to greet people and tell them where the bathroom is and check the bathrooms to make sure they're clean. So we put a good example out there for,
Yeah.
it's a warming building too, so if it gets cold, then people are gonna come here to warm
Well,
up.
our drill team is probably gonna be looking for a place to camp out too, so, we could be in here quite a bit of the time.
Yeah.
so.
What hours?
Roshan Sands Hall will be selling like hot dogs and chip and pops. And
Yeah.
we probably won't be doing that.
No.
So to raise money.
What hours did you have in mind, or did they discuss that for us? or-
No, they didn't even discuss it.
So you're opening over at, Roshan at 7?
Yeah.
Is it?
7 until whatever, I mean, we probably wouldn't need to be open here until noon,
Till noon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Saturday.
I'm thinking about, I might open at 9 just because I'll
Okay.
get the coffee started and whatever else. But
Again, with the more volunteers we get, the better off we are.
well, just so we can spot off.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a chance to sit down and chat with people who, for residents who wanna
Oh,
come in,
absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So,
Okay,
okay,
rail side,
okay.
No motion to that?
Now we don't need a motion, just so we're gonna post it and see if you
Oh,
guys can
I
come.
hope we get. Bring a case of beer.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Making sure, I'm just gonna put this underneath the addenda. Okay. All right, so Fire Smart, there's that training course,
We got
there was a
the
teleconference.
rail side,
Side design.
rail side design,
Pardon?
rail side.
Oh, rail side,
9.6.
you wanna post that up? You've got it in here.
That's in the
It's-
working docs?
We didn't actually get the latest version of it, we just have the initial version. It's in your
My working docs?
folder there.
This one?
No, it should be at the very bottom of this.
Oh.
Uh, Yeah, okay. So
Uh,
it's not opening.
no. Oh. For sure, okay, well, that's fine. I don't care about that either. We also-
Yeah, there was two pictures that he showed us in our design for the community, just to,
Just give me a second.
A
I'll get
concept.
going. Okay,
there we go.
all right, now I gotta share screen again.
And the second one. So just for the initial discussion,
This is the first one.
okay, so initially, I don't know if you guys can all see that.
Yes, that's
Initially,
good.
yeah, okay. So initially, the first discussion we've had is the potential locations, and we're bringing back a couple potential locations based on our meetings. The first location would be across from the current hall and taking a bit of the hillside, yeah, that building right there, and taking a bit of the hillside away, and then having, patio all the way around kind of thing, and then having some parking out front. And then the second location would be closer to the existing hall, or maybe even attached by a breezeway or something like that. So right now, we're just getting those positions sort of finalized, but this is where we need to bring in people from the community, because there has been a suggestion by a number of people from the community to move the garbage cans out of this common area and to move the bottle depot out of this common area and move it to another location like that Memorial Park or something like that, or someplace else where it's not in the common focus area. So there has been that suggestion, and there's a second picture of the concept design.
Oh, that one page. In here. A copy of the whole.
Yeah, I thought there was two.
Oh, there's the one.
Check the working doc. Okay, no, so we don't have a picture of the 3D, but he's going to be posting a picture for community feedback on his website with the 3D model of what potentially it could look like. So in the next week or so, so the community can get feedback. The walls as it sits, there'll be a front atrium, and the walls will be, what did you say, 12 to 16 feet high? And
12,
then
yeah.
12 feet, and then it'll be an arched roof system. I think that's on this key as well.
Scissor press or whatever you said.
Yeah.
16.
So the size wise, of the hall portion of it would be on par with Roshan Sands, more or less the square footage. And the kitchen would be, just about double, if not triple, the existing kitchen. And the bathrooms, of course, would have to be based on the 200 potential users at a time. The bathrooms would have to have more stalls for the ladies and more stalls for the men and urinals. So that was built into this design, as well as the mechanical systems have to be decided. And then there was the possibility of putting external bathrooms for wheelchair accessibility, as well as when the hall isn't open, so the public can use the bathrooms outside, but we haven't firmed that up yet. That was just a discussion point. So the people in the playgrounds and other people in the community, but it would mean the public works staff would be going in and maintaining and cleaning those bathrooms all the time. So so that's kind of the concepts where we are right now. And there'll be changes to the designs, but we should get like community input on not just the hall input, but the community input from the people with engineering, construction, and other expertise before we finalize any grant applications or whatever.
When that grant?
Well, there's one I'm doing the 28th, which I'm just gonna send based on square footage and
So
estimated
this
dollar
building
value.
is, it looked to me like it was about 5,000 square feet. Is that correct?
No,
I
it's-
don't think
no,
so.
no.
I thought it was
Um,
like 50 by 100
it's-
is what
It
it,
was knocked out at 50 by 100.
Well,
It was mapped out 50 by 100.
It said 50 by
50 by
100 is what
100,
I saw
yeah.
on that, on
So
that
five
drawing.
thousand square feet, the
Pardon me?
hall part itself would be 60% or 70% of that, and the rest would be kitchens, bathrooms and storage.
So how much, like,
So.
what are we, what are,
roughly
what are we
50
thinking
by
per square
100
foot
is
of
the
cost?
Footprint, yeah.
Yeah.
What are we
right.
thinking cost per square foot?
Well, the cost per square foot of finish to lock up versus cost per square foot to finish completely. So.
Yeah, yeah,
Cost per square foot of finish to lock up is 150, I think. Let me see.
150,000, is that all? Really?
No,
No, $150
$150 a square foot.
$150 a square foot,
So
yeah,
it
yeah.
ranges between $150 to $200 per square feet, so 750,000 to $1 million to lock up. And that would include all your in-floor, your cement floors, your heating, mechanicals and everything. Doors, windows, but it would not include the kitchen, would not include the finished interior or anything. So the average cost per square foot of the fully completed project was between 275 and 325, depending on the amount of detail or in the kitchens and stuff like that. So we're looking at, in that case, we're looking at 275. So we're looking at 1.375 at the low end for a completed project. It would probably take 2 to 3 years. And with grant money, and the high end would be, well, there's one guy that actually said it was 350, so I'll put that as a very high end. So the high end, oops, 5,000. At the high end, we're looking at 1.75. So.
Like, is there a, like, right now we have about just short of $600,000 in grant money sitting there, right? So that
Well,
would
we've
get us to
got, yeah, we've got, just in
299
current existing grant, not new grant, and not 2022's grant, we've got, just about $700,000 in grants. The 297 has to be spent or we lose it by December. And then by the end of 2024, we have another 180,000 that has to be spent. Plus
Right.
we've got, I think, 250,000 in outstanding grants from other project money that we've received in cash that has to be spent or allocated. So
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 we
we're in the range
essentially
of-
right now we have enough money to get to
we're in the
lockup
range of
stage.
750 without having to get any new money or borrow any money or anything.
And that would get us to lockup at this point,
That'll get us
750.
the basic lockup, which is insulated building, mechanical system, walls, doors, windows, and lock it up so it can be continued to work on.
The other thing is, do we have an estimate of what the cost would, the ongoing cost, yearly cost would be to heat this building and electricity and stuff like that?
The ongoing maintenance is certainly a concern. As far as there isn't, I don't know of a community hall or memorial hall or whatever that turns a profit. It's an ongoing expense.
Yeah, but the whole thing applying for the regional rec grant and being with the regional rec board is that you get up to 50% or more in your annual maintenance cost. Plus they can add small capital items. So if you've got capital maintenance, and then as far as casinos and other fundraising, if you can rent the building out and have a bar and things like that, you are going to get, at a high end, you're going to get 50% cost recovery. At a low end, you're going to get 20% cost recovery. So I guess the more it's used, the more, like for weddings and whatever else, the more revenues there are. Um, and, you know, for the community wise. But
So I think when we put this out to the public, we have to have that sort of information too. Because, you know, it certainly is going to, there is a possibility of raising taxes a little bit to have this building to cover the annual costs, right?
Well, I think, well, of course it would be, like, it's not a profit business.
No.
Even if you, let's say, if you wanted to rent it out and then take care of the bar to try and make some money back for it, you're still gonna tax your volunteers so bad that you may not have the amount of volunteers as is needed for that kind of a deal. And plus the janitor work and, you know, there's a whole bunch of expenses involved with the hall. And to be honest with you, Kathy and I were deep into that when we were in the Legion in Stettler. And the logistics of the whole thing, it's, you know, it's really hard. And you can phone the town of Stettler and talk to Greg Spatinsky there about the profit out of their memorial hall. New profit.
No, there never is. I mean,
No.
cost recovery between 50 and 75% is just on operating is reasonable. But if you factor in long-term capital expenses, building replacement costs and all that stuff, it drops significantly, right?
Yeah,
But I just think in the interest of full disclosure, when we put this out to the public,
Oh,
that
absolutely.
yeah, it'll have to be out there, Bob. And the other, you know, there's stuff that sometimes we don't think about and the public doesn't think about. So if you got a dishwasher in this new kitchen or whatever, if that's the way this thing is gonna go together, and you've got toilet stalls and everything else, you rented it for 200 people, where's that sewer all gonna go? So
yeah,
you've gotta
exactly.
have a
Well-
2,000 gallon tank there, and that costs money to get rid of.
Yep.
That's another ongoing expense.
Well, like even now, like, you know, the existing hall has 2 1-stall bathrooms to clean. Like the plan that I saw, like there was about
4.
5 or 6 stalls for women and 2 stalls for men and 2 urinals. So the cleaning cost goes up significantly.
Mhm. It's all stuff that has to be considered as well as explained to the public, and that's really important.
Mhm.
And that's the plan. It's too bad that we got into this pickle from like we just got the letter from the government in the fall.
Mhm.
And that's because they're getting rid of the MSI and going into another system.
Right, yeah. No, that I understand that. Yeah, it's just they've really put a gun to our head from a time standpoint.
Mhm. And it is apparent that this hall is not big enough. But then you still got to ask yourself, I'm just putting this stuff out here, how many times a year is it too small? You know, there's that to consider as well. And is there something else in the community that is needed more? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Water
the
lines,
public's gonna think
whatever else
about
you
it,
guys think.
but we have to get them involved so that they can decide and make a fairly, like an educated decision on this, because it's a community hall. It's not just the council's hall or the
Mhm.
Hall Society's hall. It's the whole community is going to be involved in this thing.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll move along.
Move along.
So we're just
More
as
discussion.
presented.
The hall.
It's just, just presented for information. Cause there'll be more coming in the next meetings anyways, so. Okay,
Fire Smart.
okay, so there was a, there's this.
It was in January though.
This is in the correspondence part. So there was a training course for counselors to be in the Fire Smart program to learn about it and the grants. So I am gonna fill out, because the deadline extension of interest for the Fire Smart is February 17th, which is like right away. But there's also other programs and fees that are on May 8th that we can so I'm gonna apply and see if we can't get some money for like, at least for like chainsaws or whatever to replace, if we have to replace a chainsaw, or if we have to, if we get some money, we can hire some people to do some brush clearing, or we can work on a partnership with residents, because as Tim and the public works staff clean up our parts of the community, there's still parts of the community where the residents have a lot of deadfall or dead trees, and they're asking us to do it, but we can't spend money to help individual residents. But if we can go with the Fire Smart program and they indicate an area within the community that would benefit, then we can work with the residents and get a cost per property, per whatever it is. They usually do a cost per meter, and they give us the money back as a program, so we can actually help residents if they need help.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they say with the grants, because
Because we're not in the
we're
like,
not in the danger
Slave
zone.
Lake fire
Yeah,
zone and stuff like that, and that's where these programs really got accelerated
right.
because of those emergencies.
So you're gonna attend that on May 8th,
I'm going to
or can you zoom in?
can we zoom in?
No.
Oh,
I don't think you can. It says on-
yeah, Jimmy,
Is it?
31st?
January
25th?
31st?
That's the January one, but there's another one on
Oh.
May 8th, so I can ask if there's a Zoom. But I'm just gonna send the grants in, see how it works. I'll talk to the Fire Smart people. It is a process to get the money back.
Yeah.
So like, if they make a commitment to us, they've got to come out and send a fish and wildlife officer or forestry officer out, and they'll indicate which areas need to be done, highest priority. And then they'll say, okay, if you guys do this in the next year, we'll send you back this much money from the program. So, but it's a cost upfront program, not the other way around. So,
Yeah, and the Fire Smart program is just a division of the bigger one.
yeah, it's part of the Alberta Emergencies Response Program as well, right? So as long as we're meeting all of our requirements and they help us maintain those emergency exits and accesses, then that might be all we get. We might just get a few maintenance dollars. So I don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
and I think Bob volunteered for the next one. It's the
the lake going up and lake going down.
I'm going tomorrow.
there's
I'm in-
the
I'm in-
Alberta
I'm
Lake
on that
Management
tomorrow,
Society's
yes.
having a meeting.
And that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, I think it's online, so you can register online to watch it.
I've registered.
Yeah,
You did,
register.
okay, good.
And, yeah. so
I
that's-
can't do that. I'm with the Brownlee tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, I think the key topic is lake elevations, and the key topic for the conference coming up is invasive species. They're gonna be talking about all the zebra mussels and all that other stuff, but there'll be a lot, the Summer Village, and that's in Olds. I think it's available online. We have one counselor doing it online. So, yeah, and if you guys want to attend some of those sessions, you can do that. Just gotta contact Debbie and get the link. But you registered, right, Bob? You registered with the Alberta Summer Village Association now? You'll get the emails direct, or do you want me to register you?
Well, I went on to register and I couldn't find where to register.
No, neither. can I.
But so I was just gonna email
Debbie?
Debbie.
Well, there
I'll
was
just
nothing
email.
on the website to register.
Okay, but no, but I mean, just send your email into them so they can send you
Okay, yeah,
emails
no,
direct.
I was I was gonna ask you about that because,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll send
whether I-
Debbie an email.
For,
Pardon
I
me?
know she got yours. Is she sending
Yeah,
you this?
I-
correct now?
no,
I will just send her an email. I was gonna ask you about that today. Yeah, so I will just send her an email direct and tell her to put me on the list.
so can you do
I'll
all three
set
of
all
us?
three up
Yeah.
at the same time. Okay. And Aaron as well.
Oh, you'll do it, Dean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, thank you.
in his spare time.
Yeah, whatever. So that's what it is. So the other thing, the last item is one of the summer villages, they're hosting this. This is another meeting. It's Tuesday, but it's online. They created a climate resilience adaptation plan. But I found out that one of the summer villages got the grant for the EV charging station. So they were able to get an EV charging station put in their community for tourism attraction, and they were able to get the thing fully funded. There's two southern Alberta villages, not summer villages, that also got it. So I called them to ask them how they went with their process, because Roshan is looking at putting an EV charging station. If you guys want me to find out the information and give it back to you, then you guys can decide. Hopefully, you know, it might be something you want to consider down the road, but this is just what other summer villages are doing to get access money from the province or the feds for these programs.
Okay,
So that's it.
thank you.
Now in camera.
Okay, so we,
Oh, move by to accept as information, just 3 things.
Yes.
yeah,
Who wants to do it? All right, good, I don't have to change anything.
thank you.
All right, so we're moving into camera at 11:58.
Yeah, and then write the items.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Now I can say come out of camera.
I'd like to make a motion to come out of camera at 1:15.
Okay.
And we need another motion to
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Who wants to make a motion?
I'll do that.
All right,
Sorry, we got you out of bed, Paul.
What's that?
Sorry, we got you out of bed.
Oh, that's okay. I don't feel